Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome in today for the 59th episode of the Pod Ones podcast. I'm your host, Char J, joined by my co-host, Luke.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
And Hereth Productions.
How you feeling, everybody? Last Clone Wars episode. Let's go.
That is right. Today will be the last Clone Wars arc that we are going to be covering on the Pod Ones podcast. And we're going to be covering Siege of Mandalore, of course. And there's going to be a lot of deep discussions, a lot of
He's not
craziness.
here.
And
He's not here, Chris. He's not here. Get out of here.
Give Carter the credit, man. But yes, we're going to be covering season 7, episodes 9, 10, 11, and 12, which is the finale of the Clone Wars. And it's going to be fun. So, Luke, are we ready to get the show on the road?
Yep.
You never would have made it as Obi-Wan's Padawan, but you might make it as mine.
Okay, so our
I love
first
how he
guest
just like
today-
came in and just like, okay.
Well, you got to transition into it. Okay, so our first guest today is a returner to the Pod Ones podcast. We have 3 guests today, by the way. Our first guest is a returner to the Pod Ones podcast. He has been on episodes 14, the Ryloth arc, episodes 41, the Umbara arc, and he's coming on today to talk about the Siege of Mandalore. He was the former Pod Ones podcast Star Wars trivia champion. Let's bring in Brandon at Darth Choco.
Yo, how's it going, everybody?
It's good.
How are you?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right. Just ready to hop into it because this arc is hype.
Sure, game. Sure, gang.
Absolutely. It's beautiful.
Yep, absolutely. Choco, where can the good people follow you on the social medias?
Yeah, I'm Darth Choco on TikTok, Darth Choco on YouTube, Darth Choco7 on Twitter. And yeah, I come say hello.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thanks
I'm glad you're
again.
here.
Yeah, thanks again for coming on for the final episode of the Clone Wars.
I also can't wait to jump into Rebels because Rebels is my
Yes.
jam. So
Yeah.
Yes. We will be
Same
starting
with a lot
Rebels.
of people, so we are very excited to move on to Rebels once Clone Wars is all said and done. All right.
Yep.
So we only have 2 guests as of right now, but our third guest will be coming in soon. So we will introduce the guest that we have here today. So let's bring in our new guest. She is a newbie to the Pod Ones podcast. This is the first time I have met her, and for so far so good. Our conversations have been good. So let's bring in Blygloop.
Hi, everybody.
How's it going? Thanks again for coming on. We just like to have new people. So I saw I think I followed you early on when you
Yeah.
only had like 100, like
Maybe like 15 followers.
yeah. I think that's what it was. But like
Yeah.
I was like, she likes Ahsoka. I think
Yeah.
this could be good. So
Lisa thinking Lisa being friends.
yeah.
All right. Well, Choco, you can't just say that and not do the thing he does afterwards. Thank you.
But Billy, where can the good people follow you on the social media?
Yeah, so you can search me, Billy Goop, BLYGOOP, on Instagram, on TikTok, and on YouTube.
Absolutely. Go check out her stuff. We actually just subscribed to you on YouTube, so there you go. I think you're at like
Doing
almost
so right
200 subs.
Yeah, very small, but
There
man,
you go.
it's
Hey.
been really fun. I've been having a great time. I didn't think I was going to have this much fun, but
No, yeah, absolutely. Is this your first podcast?
yes, ever. This
Yes!
is my first
I
Awesome.
love it. I
Not-
love it.
It won't be your last. That's for
No,
damn
yeah,
sure.
absolutely. No, absolutely. That's what I pride myself on is like going out and finding new people that are just like new, fresh faces in the community and like introducing them so that you can get acclimated and do
Yeah.
awesome stuff. So we appreciate you coming on, and I'm so happy that we're your first podcast. So I
Yeah.
mean, there you go. It's
Yeah.
awesome. Well,
True.
we
Pretty
well-
cool.
well, we appreciate that. Char. It is with a somber heart
I know. I
That-
know.
Time.
this everybody
It is
in the
time.
everybody in the chat, pour one out for Guilford Godfrey summary plot readings, because they will not be happening in Rebels. So everybody take a moment of silence. Been a real one. All right.
Yes.
go, King.
So Pat, this will not be the last reading.
I mean, it's the last reading for like what, 3 years, 4 years? Well, how long can we get the Bad Batch? It's gonna be forever.
It won't be.
Yeah.
It won't be too long. It'll probably be maybe a year and a half, 2 years potentially.
But that's forever. Char.
So yeah, this you won't be hearing Gilbert Gottfried for a long time. So and there's only one plot summary in this arc.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be. I'm
There's
gonna make
also
sure
no
that this
morals
is
in
the
this arc
best one
either.
so far. And Hereth, if you give me under a 4 out of 5, I'm flying to Washington. I'm gonna fight you. Okay. Because you're my harshest critic, and now today will mark the day when this will be all said and done. And if you
Harris
don't
is
give
just
it the
chaos
praise,
incarnate, though. So
That's true, though.
I mean, if you see me on Cal streaming Grand Theft Auto, you would know. You would know.
yeah,
Absolutely.
all
right.
right. So, without further ado, let's hop in to the plot summary. Pep already knows headphones coming off. All right. So, season 7, episode 9, titled "Old Friends Not Forgotten," and for the final time. For Clone Wars specifically, until 2 years in the future potentially.
Yeah.
Gilbert Gottfried. Headphone warning. We'll give you 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Outer Rim under siege! Separatist forces have launched a major offensive! Led by evil droid General Grievous, Republic forces are pushed to the brink! In response to this overwhelming attack, the Jedi Council has dispatched its generals, sending them far from the core worlds to bolster the beleaguered clones. On the distant planet of Urbana, we find Commander Cody of the 212th in desperate need of reinforcements. I had to take a pause there for that second. I was like, this is
like, why is he pausing?
I had to take.
It was like he was taking it all in. He's like an NBA player that had played for 25 years. He's at the free throw line. The coach is gonna take him out after he makes his 2 free throws. So we had to like pause.
I thought he was like gathering up more.
I wanted to enjoy the moment. He's like the person in the national anthem that just ends the brave really long.
Yeah, I was like Voldemort in Order of the Phoenix. I was just absorbing all that energy, and I was just going, ah! But yeah, that was the last sentence potentially of Gottfried ever. So
That's perfect.
I had to take it in. So
that was the
thank
best
you.
one.
Thank you.
In my opinion, that was the best one I've heard so far. So
I feel like I did put in a lot of energy. Hereth, your score.
Char, you know I'm your harshest critic. You know how
You're
everything we've been through.
You're my
up until
Anton ego.
now.
I know.
I know everything we've been through up until now. Since I was in the comments since I became a host, I'm gonna give you a 5 out of 5.
Yes!
Hey.
Hereth, I will not fly to Washington. Okay. I'll fly there and I'll give you a hug and then immediately leave. Okay.
All right. Well, there you go. There you go. Chart.
All right.
Let's
So
get it
let's
started.
dive into the first episode of this arc. So we are diving into Old Friends Not Forgotten, which the beginning of this arc, we have obviously the fight on Urbana, and we have the scene with Obi-Wan and Anakin on the bridge fighting off the Separatist forces. And immediately right off the bat, you see how cinematic the show looks now for the final arc. It looks spectacular. And the famous scene where Obi-Wan and Cody are taking cover, and Anakin pulls up by himself with the 501st under the bridge, and he's as confident as ever. He's the typical he's not afraid of anything. Obi-Wan's just this scared old man, and Anakin's like, "What are you doing down there?" And he's like, "Take cover, we're getting under attack." And he's like, "There's about 1,000 droids out there, tops." And then he just goes out there and has a plan and fake surrenders and takes out their commander.
war crimes, yeah.
And then the 501st just come flying out of the bridge, and it's all out.
Well, the thing what I love about this opening introduction is the parallels. You get the parallels to Return of the Jedi with the score, and then visually you get the parallels to Luke and Last Jedi arriving on Crate of them walking out, because I've seen so many great side-by-side comparisons and they look
Mhm.
absolutely amazing. Like, there are so many little detail callbacks to past, future, present projects. It's amazing.
Oh, absolutely. And especially the scene where the 501st come flying out and the screen pans on Anakin's face where it's the bridge, and then you see everyone in their jetpacks flying above him, and it's super cinematic feeling to it. And so once that's done, they just go right through the separatist forces, and they end up going back on the cruiser, and they continue with their mission. And apparently something urgent's popped up, and Anakin's like, okay, so what is it now? And he looks and he sees the hologram of Ahsoka and Bo-Katan, and he pauses for a moment and looks at the friend that he hasn't seen and his former apprentice in a long time.
Are we just gonna
And
gloss over Saw Gerrera? Damn.
he has a lot of questions. And so I just, Choco, Bly, what were you, when you first saw this, what did you feel? What was going through you when you saw that reunion? Not yet, but that reunion of Ahsoka and Anakin Skywalker.
You want to go?
Sure. Man, as someone that has been like watching all this stuff like live, like where I've lost Ahsoka for like years, and then we see her later, and so anything involving her is special, and it was just like you kind of got that. For me, it was just like you get that little catch in your throat, like,
Mhm.
and like this is telling you, hey, we are going to jump in and tell you the other side of the Revenge of the Sith story. This is what was happening elsewhere. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah. Billy?
I was one of the lucky ones where I didn't have to wait for season 7. I caught on to Clone Wars a little bit later than everybody else, and so I just got to dive right into it. But I mean, my heart was broken for the entire time that we didn't have Ahsoka in this series. But I think as soon as I heard Fulcrum, and like Rebels had been out, I hadn't seen it yet. I heard Fulcrum and I was like, okay, that's his frequency. And then we see Ahsoka up there, and I was like, he still means so much to her, But when she turned around and he looked at her, his eyes lit up, and you could tell she was happy to see him, but she had to kind of like put on a front, like, no, like, hello, master, like, I still respect you, but I have to tell you something. Like, we have to get down to business. And so it wasn't the reunion I wanted, but it was perfect. It's exactly what should have happened.
Yeah, and I like that you pointed out the buildup of Ahsoka coming back too, because the entire season 6 didn't even have Ahsoka, or didn't barely even mention her. It wasn't even brought up at all. And then when you go to season 7, you see the reunion of Ahsoka and Anakin. It's like this whole I don't know, it's all coming back to you. It's all full circle.
It's all
And-
coming back to me.
But it's like the added thing of like, she left at the end of season 5, but that was in like 2014 or something.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
So it had been what,
To not-
5 or 6 years?
Until
8.
Netflix picked
Oh, yeah.
up
That's right.
and made season 6. That was years later, and then we got her coming back in Rebels. But like this was special because this was Clone Wars Ahsoka coming back after like 5 or 6 years, maybe more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and let's move on to the reason why Ahsoka is talking with Anakin and Obi-Wan and the Republic in the first place. So Anakin, when she meets with Ahsoka means business, and Anakin's like wanting to have a reunion, wanted to talk to her, but she's trying to help Bo-Katan, and Bo-Katan is trying to tell the Republic that Maul is in control of Mandalore and that he is causing a lot of problems that Ahsoka could handle on her own with Bo-Katan and the rest of her Night Owl group. So when they come together and talk, they head to a siege because Anakin is talking with Obi-Wan about giving Ahsoka her own battalion of clones, which obviously is the 332nd, with all of the section of the 501st with the Ahsoka Tano face paint and everything, which just made even the ending of this arc even more sad. just looking at their face and just going at them. But anyway, we have a Siege of Mandalore, and in essence, the title of the episode. And when they're on their way to Mandalore, Senator Almec, or Prime Minister Almec, transmits a hologram to Bo-Katan, and says, "What are you doing? You have broken a treaty that has lasted not 100 years," and that it's time for Mandalore to be under control of someone different than Maul, because Maul has caused enough problems, and that Maul is basically turning Mandalore into a crime-infested place. So why do you think the Jedi Council was so desperate to break a 100-year treaty? How does it build off of unfinished stories like Dark Disciple or Son of Dathomir? Choco, you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the council didn't necessarily want to do it. We actually didn't really get word back from the council at all. Instead, what they did is they promoted Rex, put the 332nd under Rex, and had her go as an advisor. But I'm about to be real unpopular here. I felt, and Ahsoka even says it in it. She's not trying to be fair. The whole thing is super sketchy. You know what I mean? Because they are a neutral system. They are not part of the Republic. They are not part of the war. And by sending Republic troops into this neutral system of worlds, they are potentially starting an additional war. And Bo-Katan even says that. Well, what's one more war? And it's a funny situation because at this point in time, Maul is the rightful ruler. He took over using their system. Obviously, he's a bad guy, and you got to take him down. But it's just, Ahsoka's the hero, so obviously we're on her side. But like taking the 20,000-foot view, the whole system is like super sketchy. Hey, this girl who unseated her sister is trying to retake Mandalore that's neutral using Republic troops, and she's going to put herself essentially in rulership position. The whole thing is just real hinky. It's funny to me, but
yeah, you brought up a lot of good points. Billy, to add off that.
Yeah, you just kind of blew my mind a little bit. I don't know what to think anymore. No, before I was doing my research, and it was the treaty between the Republic and Mandalore, and there's not a lot of information on it as far as like how it came to be that I found. And so when the Jedi Council, they didn't really care. Maybe it was just a plot point or something, but I know Ahsoka for a fact didn't care about the treaty, about the Republic, about a neutral system. She was approached by a friend, kind of, right, an acquaintance, who she probably admired a little bit and was like, you know what, you're way better than Maul. I'm going to do everything in my power to help you help your people. She's getting Bo-Katan's side of the story, not everybody's. Obviously, Maul's going to be the big bad guy to defeat no matter what. But Ahsoka's like, F the Republic, F the treaty, F the rules. Like, they need your help. And didn't you know her sister? I'm sure she got that story, but why aren't you going to help me is probably what Ahsoka was more upset about. Like, this is obviously a little bit more important than the Chancellor. But
yeah, I love how you brought up the Bo-Katan and Obi-Wan scene where Bo-Katan talks about or mentions Satine to Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan's like, I miss her. I still do. But we will not let I will not let my feelings cloud my judgments. And then you see Anakin look at him.
No, the fact that during that, when they say my feelings won't cloud my judgment, they instantly cut to Anakin's face. You're just like, oh my god, that's some foreshadowing.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Everything's foreshadowing for Anakin.
No, yeah. Because
and then
no, yeah, go
we
ahead, Char.
get to the start of what happens on Mandalore. So right off the break, there's missiles being shot at LAAT gunships, and there's ATTs just falling out of the sky. And that scene where Ahsoka jumps out of the LAAT and it's just falling, and she's dodging all of this debris, and she makes the landing, and she does that famous pose with the explosion in the background. What were your guys' thoughts? Just quickly, what were your thoughts on her sticking that landing and making that badass pose?
Char.
I was screaming. I think you called it him, but I was screaming, especially because like she was back, like she had her lightsabers back, and they were blue this time, and she's just kicking and fighting and doing the splits and just kicking butt. And she lands that like it's nothing. Like, oh, okay, I'm home. This is what I'm supposed to be doing.
On the subject of the lightsabers, to go back a little bit, what were your guys' feelings of Anakin giving her those special lightsabers? Like he had kept them obviously, but he changed them to blue. Like what were your guys' feelings when you saw them light up blue for the first time instead of green and I think it's yellow, right? Her smaller saber is yellow.
Green and like
They're
a
both
lime
green,
green,
just
yellow.
a
Oh,
slightly
okay.
different shade of green. Yeah.
Mhm.
No, but what'd you guys think of that? Cool.
I didn't quite understand. Well, my thoughts were I didn't understand why they did it until we got to the very end of the arc, because this was his connection to her, right? At that point, these aren't just her lightsabers. These are her lightsabers that have been modified and changed by him, Anakin. And so him finding them at the very end is a deep connection to who he was before, and I think it's a much deeper connection than had she just picked up her old ones, So I appreciated that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And then there's Pep in the chat talking about the treaty between the Republic and the Mandalorians.
Yep.
Awesome.
But Billy,
Oh, I was gonna say I don't know, and you guys can help me because anything that I say, if I say something wrong or if you guys have extra information, let me know because I'm here to learn. But I didn't know, did he go, or what do you guys think? Did he go and find those kyber crystals and replace hers, or did he somehow pour himself into the kyber crystals that she already had? That's what I was like. How did the colors change?
I think. Well, here, go ahead, Brandon.
I was gonna say it's not specified in anything, but the active theory is that he replaced the crystals because
Okay, because that makes sense.
he's done it before, and we've seen him get new lightsabers and stuff.
Yeah, he's notorious for losing his lightsaber or having it break, so he knows how to do it very well.
Yeah, so the answer is, woo, blue is cool. I mean, when she ignites the saber, he says, maybe a little better
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
than before.
I have a more of an active, I want to say theory, but explanation for why I think they did it. Because like I remember listening to because they didn't do like the proper behind the scenes where they just did like little downloads or like they would talk about the episode. I think it was more of a change because they wanted to show like Ahsoka bringing like who she was before and the essence of Anakin with her, like the good part of Anakin with her to the battle. It was to show that like, yes, all this bad stuff's happening in Revenge of the Sith. Yes, Anakin's turning to the dark side this week. It's gonna happen. He's gonna kill all these people. But Ahsoka is remembering who he was in this battle and what he stood for. That's how I saw it.
I like
Also, Bedazzler,
Pull up
gotta
the
do our
brand.
thing. Gotta do the thing. All right, if you're looking for merch from Marvel, DC, or Star Wars, Far Far Away Factory is the shop to go. She's got shirts. She's got earrings. She's got everything under the sun. She might even be starting to do 3D printed stuff.
Ooh.
So, go to farfarawayfactory.com. Follow them on Instagram. Follow Brooke at _Bedazzler_ on I believe all social media. See, Brooke, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But go buy her shit. It's awesome. And
Why do I
only
feel like
can
it's
say
been an
that.
eternity since we've pulled that up?
Yeah, that's true.
Speaking of Ahsoka, there
There
you
you
go.
go.
And
Hey.
also, speaking of
Nice.
Ahsoka, hey, Luke, pull up that banner again.
All right, hold on. Yeah.
And as you can see from this banner, you can see on the very far right,
Yes.
you get to see the duel between Maul and Ahsoka in Clone Wars, which is in the arc that we're talking about today, in her store. So if you want to go check some of her custom-made shirts out like that, they're at Far Far Away Factory. You can find them.
There
So-
you go.
Yeah. And we'll be getting to that fight pretty soon. And we dive into, so we talked about Anakin's lightsabers. So we get to the actual Siege of Mandalore. So we get Ahsoka on the platform. She's going through, she's trying to find Maul, and they split up and they tried to take out Prime Minister Almec. And Almec is just sitting in the throne room where Satine once sat and where Maul once sat before him. And they go through, they find him, and he's got Mandalorian armor, but Bo-Katan makes easy work of him. And he talks about how Maul wanted a Jedi to be there, but the Republic brought the wrong one. And we find out later that that Jedi was supposed to be Anakin. And that's revealed later on when they're in the sewers of Mandalore. So they go and they find, they try to track Maul down because Maul is down beneath trying to talk to the Shadow Collective, which we see a little bit of Dryden Voss. We see some Xenon Maj of the Falleen. We see Mars Grimm of the Pike Syndicates. We see this huge Shadow Collective meeting, and they split up. They go through the sewers and they try to find Maul. And we see this encounter with Maul and Ahsoka. Ahsoka walks in, and the famous meme, "I was hoping for Kenobi. Why are you here?" That meme came up about 200 different times on my feed whenever Obi-Wan was coming up. And but they have an interaction, and Maul talks to Ahsoka about what the plan is, or his master's plan,
Wait.
but she doesn't know the full extent of it.
No,
Jar,
that
you're jumping
mixing,
ahead.
You're mixing
Am
the
I-
two episodes. You're blending
Yeah.
the two
Am I
episodes
mixing
together.
it? Okay,
Yeah.
so
You're good though.
No, because it ends
You're
with
good,
Ahsoka's
'cause
on
then
there.
that'll
It cuts
go
to black.
straight.
Remember?
Yeah, you're
Because
good.
it ends with
Yep.
Maul being like, "Well, I'm looking for Kenobi. Why are you here?" And it just cuts to black.
yeah, okay, yeah. So
No,
with-
but I don't blame you because literally it all goes together.
I
So
know
it's like,
it's
it's
kind
not-
of hard to distinguish the two because there's no separation between those two scenes.
Yeah, because it literally cuts from there to the second episode.
No, there's no recap. There's no anything. It just,
So yeah, so that was my mistake. So I will cut that off there.
No, you're good. No,
and-
no, no. But you do have one. You do have that final question if you want to ask that.
I do. So we're gonna jump back a little bit to where before Ahsoka leaves with Bo-Katan to Mandalore. So in Ahsoka's final goodbye to Anakin, she says "good luck" instead of "may the Force be with you" as a response. Why do you think she says this? What is your interpretation of this moment? So instead of her responding with "may the Force be with you" when he says it, she just says "good luck."
I think because even when Obi-Wan left Ahsoka, he said, "May the Force be with you," and he walked away. And when she was having that conversation with Anakin, like you could see the fondness of him from her in that moment, whereas before in the whole episode she was kind of cold and calculated and like, we need to get things done. But at that moment, he's taught her about luck, like, "Oh, at least I taught you," I don't know the exact quote, but instead of "may the Force be with you," like the Jedi had taught her, she was like, "You know what, you are my master. I'm taking your lessons with me. Like, good luck, Anakin. Like, I know the lessons that you've tried to instill in me, and I'm going to use them wherever I go." And I think that was really comforting for both of them.
Yeah, Choco.
Yeah, I'm on a similar page there because right before that scene they kind of address it. Anakin says, "With any luck, this will all be over soon."
Yeah.
And then she says, "Master Kenobi said there's no such thing as luck." And he says something about like, "Well, good thing I taught you," or something like that, And then that's after that is when she says "good luck" back to him. And yeah, I think it's just like you said, that was her appreciation for Anakin as a master. These scenes make me really curious on where we're going to go with Ahsoka, especially in her upcoming show, because like at this point in time, if you look at things from her perspective, I believe in her eyes the Jedi have been wrong, but Anakin is right. But then again, when we see her in The Mandalorian, she's like, "Oh, they might have been right." This whole attachment thing, I've seen what happens, what it can do to the best of us. So I'm curious. But at this stage in time, I think that was like her little saying I'm agnostic now or something.
Yeah.
No, to build off what you're saying, because when I wrote this question, I was thinking a little bit like that, but I also was thinking the angle of, by this point, you got to think in Anakin's like career as a Jedi, he has heard "May the Force be with you" so many times at this point. It doesn't mean anything to him. It doesn't affect him. It doesn't mean anything. When Obi-Wan says it in his goodbye, it's more of like a staggering to a heart more than anything. So at this point in time, Ahsoka saying "good luck" it's different for him. It's a new variation. He's like, you know what, this is something new. I've never heard this in the entire my life. So it's like, again, so I see it as like Ahsoka trying to be like, hey, I'm not part of the Jedi Order. I acknowledge you. Let's move on.
Yeah. You brought up good points.
Yeah, it's an interesting to think about because like exactly like Choco said, like and also think about it like this, because that's the last time she ever sees Anakin until she sees Vader in
she sees
in
half of
Rebels.
Anakin at the time.
She sees half of Anakin in Rebels, and then to branch off into the Ahsoka show. Obviously, we know Hayden's he's not really confirmed for the show, but we know he's going to be in it. It's going to be interesting how they tie him into the show, and like how he's going to show up either as Vader in a flashback, or if he's going to show up as Anakin as a Force ghost. It's just going to be interesting to see.
Does Ahsoka still harbor feelings for Anakin? Like, is she pissed off at him for what happened last when they saw each other? Does she forgive him? Like, who knows?
It's very interesting to think about because she's already met Luke. So you have to think that Luke's already had that conversation of what Anakin ended up doing at the end. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I wouldn't think that Ahsoka would be like, oh, no way. Because No, go ahead, Choco. Go ahead.
So I was just like that, and it's kind of a tangent, but that just brings up other thoughts of, because Ahsoka was like, oh, so much like your father to Luke, and she remembers the good qualities of Anakin. But I wonder what that feels like for Luke, because when Luke tries to talk to Leia about their father, she's like, that man is not my father. Bail is my father. That dude tortured me and had his hand on her shoulder and made me watch my planet explode. She's got
chapter 6 of that book, Choco, hurts me.
Yeah, there's so many instances where that Leia just does not forgive Vader, especially in Bloodline and the new novel Princess and the Scoundrel. There's many moments where she just does not care that Vader is her father, and that with Vader being her father, it essentially ruined her career. So,
well, and like that's the tough part. So maybe
sorry to derail.
No.
It's okay.
Maybe in 40 years when we're all old, because time, it's a bitch. We'll get the certain point of views in Last Jedi: Rise of Skywalker, and we'll get the story of her talking to her pops, finally forgiving him after she's died. That would be nice.
I thought you were going Revenge of the Sith. Okay, I was
getting no. I mean, I'll be 65.
Oh
I mean,
gosh.
I'll be hopefully retired.
Old bastard.
I know. I'm already halfway there with my hair. But
So I'm just excited to see how Hayden and Rosario are going to bond.
Well, because they've shot a movie already.
Yeah, they knew each other in their acting school when they were younger. They've known each other for forever.
Yeah. I wonder how that dynamic's going to work, because it's not going to be Matt Lanter and Ashley Eckstein. So,
but I also think Hayden's voice is closer to Matt Lanter's now that he's older.
Maybe. But so one point I want to touch before we move on to the next episode. I love the scene where Obi-Wan is reluctant to give Ahsoka and Bo-Katan forces for Mandalore because they're more focused on the Chancellor with the kidnapping of him, and how she brings up that the Jedi are responsible. They are not what they used to be. You are making the wrong decision. You're more focused on the Chancellor than the actual war at hand, or worried about, you're worried about more about the Chancellor than the people of the innocent people. And we learned this from the previous arc with the Martez sisters, that the Jedi are not perfect. And they're more focused on fighting a war than serving the people. So I love that point where Ahsoka kind of scolds Obi-Wan for a second and but she also gives a really good point. So without further ado, let's move on to the next episode. Oh, yeah, I forgot about the intro. Get Max out of here. We got to do the intro.
All right, go.
All right. We
All over
have
the place.
another returner of the Pop Ones podcast. You already saw him on screen, but our second guest is another returner to the Pop Ones podcast. He appeared on episode 41, the Umbara arc with Choco, episode 50, the Maul Ascension arc, and episode 52, the Fives arc. Let's bring in Max at PMP's Den of Antiquities.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I apologize for being so late. My boss decided to surprise me with a last-minute request, so I was a little late.
No
That's
problem.
always fun.
All good.
Oh,
we,
yeah.
we get it. We get it. Max, where can the good people follow you real quick?
You guys can find me at PMPS_DEN, PMPs Den, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and then PMPs Den of Antiquities on YouTube. And then if you want to follow my art, I make a lot of cool, like, nerdy stuff. I don't know if you guys can let me see that, but I made a giant megaphone blaster, Lego
That's
megaphone
awesome.
blaster, and I do a lot of stuff
Yeah,
on my,
I saw that.
on my
That's so
art
cool.
business, which that's PMP Creations with a Z. And you guys can go check out all my art stuff that I sell and all that jazz.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. Max, you just got here in time for the second episode, so you didn't miss much. You did miss
Sick.
the last Godfrey though.
Ah,
we-
All right,
we
you
did-
did. You
we
did
did
miss
pour
the
one
final
out.
Godfrey.
We did pour one out. But Char, we finished with the
Yes,
first
we
episode? Okay.
I finished right when Max joined in. So yeah, we are
Nice.
moving on to the next episode, which you guys don't no longer need me because there are no more plot summaries.
No, yep. There is no longer any plot summaries, nor are there
Boo.
any morals either.
No.
Which is interesting, because they had a moral for almost every episode, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the second episode, titled "The Phantom Apprentice," picks up right after the last episode. Maul has said the line that Char had said earlier, the memeable one. I was hoping for Kenobi, and she we get this conversation between I mean
Typical Atlantis comment.
that's fair. You kind of do need morals, or else it's just chaos. Anyway, so good God.
I can thrive in the coming chaos, in the words of Maul.
Yes, exactly. So he is basically trying to figure out why Kenobi's not there, and he starts to tell her a little bit about the plan. And he's like, I can sense a shift. And I love the way this arc just mirrors Revenge of the Sith. Because at this time in the timeline, Obi-Wan and Anakin have already saved the Chancellor, if I'm not mistaken, correct? Because this takes place, the whole siege takes place in a couple of days. And Revenge of the Sith takes place within a couple of days as well, right?
Yeah, I
correct?
believe at this time Dooku's already been defeated.
So he can already sense that Dooku's dead, and he can already sense that things are moving pretty quick here.
Especially the
Go
way
ahead,
he says, especially the way he says Darth Sidious. That's terrifying. The way he pauses on the Sidious, he still remembers how he gets tortured in Son of Dathomir. You're just like, damn.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just interesting to see how Maul is just very manipulative. He's working things, trying to figure out who she is, how she fits into this whole scheme, why they sent her, and he ends up escaping. And it just gets wild from here. The action gets impacted. It's just insane. Yes, it is very, very haunting. But the first question we've got, actually, here I'll talk up to that point. So they go back to the main headquarters, and Obi-Wan is there in hologram form, talking about the strategy of how they're going to try to find Maul, all this and that. He then asks for Rex and Bo-Katan to stop recording because he's giving them vital information of what's going on. And it's interesting because you watch all of the characters' faces when he says that Anakin killed Dooku. It's kind of like okay, that's a new development. And then he ends up asking Bo and Rex to leave, and he tells exactly the same. Ahsoka and Obi-Wan have the same conversation, almost verbatim, as Anakin in Obi-Wan and Revenge of the Sith. So a small side, where do you think Obi-Wan talking to Ahsoka takes place inside of Revenge of the Sith?
I'll go first because I have no idea. Somewhere where it seems like he wants to hide his identity because his cloak is up, his hood is up, but I don't know.
Jocko?
Same. I assume he's on Utapau, but has not fought Grievous yet because it's one of the many cloaks that he just leaves lying around the galaxy.
That's true. Max?
I would also probably say Utapau, or maybe like right before he goes to Utapau, like after he like talks to Anakin or something like that. When he's like, "Goodbye, my old friend." Somewhere kind of within that realm.
Yeah, because it's interesting because when me and Hereth were talking about this, I would have put it in Utapau because it only makes sense because there's a shot after he's done talking to the chairman of Utapau. He takes off, and then the next shot is him hooded with R4 taking off. So it only makes sense if it's there. But then again, he's had the conversation with Anakin, and it's kind of worded weird because he's like, it's just strange because it could be either that or right before he takes off. It's just interesting. It's always been a weird thing of where that fits in to the timeline.
Well, he did have to go up quite a few levels and sneak in, and first he had to go rent Boga from the dealer, and all of that stuff. So like I think there's a fair amount of time between the two events.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was gonna mention the reason why the debate that kind of led to this question was the way like Luke was saying, the way that like Obi-Wan's wording it, it already seems like Anakin and Obi-Wan had their final goodbye because Obi-Wan's like, "Go talk to Anakin. Go talk to Anakin. Go talk to Anakin." It's like at this point he's like, "Ahsoka, I'm busy with Grievous." Anakin's like falling with betrayal from the Jedi Council. You got to talk to him.
And it's interesting that he goes, "Hey, you need to talk to him." Like, what were your guys' thoughts of like Obi-Wan pushing that on her specifically? Because like literally she says, why are you putting this on me? Like, I don't really agree with everything the council's doing. And neither does Obi-Wan as well, because if you remember Dark Disciple, he wasn't gung-ho about what happens in that book right away. He just doesn't say anything. He just goes along with it, and then later on has that kind of like I should have said something. You know what I mean?
I mean, it could be like, like when you're having a conversation with your parents about your sibling and your parents are like, you need to talk to your sister because they're not going to listen to me. I think Anakin and Ahsoka had that special relationship, and maybe Anakin didn't trust Obi-Wan as much as he used to in the past with everything that had happened. So Ahsoka, like, we're both thinking the same thing. We both care about Anakin. Like, you need to talk to him because he's not going to listen to me.
That's fair. That's very, very fair. Max, Choco?
Well, I mean, I think too, like, in the arc that like Ahsoka leaves, like Anakin's like, he's like, you don't know like how close I've come to like leaving, like a lot, so I think like Obi-Wan also like sees that and is like, hey, maybe he'll like resonate with you more, because like think Anakin's pretty on the fence about the Jedi at this point. They've already asked him to like spy on the Chancellor and all that stuff, and I think Ahsoka maybe just might allow another point of view. Everybody says from a certain point of view, so I think she could just give him, and also like Anakin sees Ahsoka as a sister, so I think it's just like hitting him from all different angles to make sure he kind of stays on track, which obviously he doesn't. But
yeah, I kind of read it as and y'all know I kind of on the other side of part of this stuff, because I in the previous episode, Obi-Wan straight up says, "I can't let my feelings cloud my judgment." That is Anakin's Achilles heel. He knows that's Anakin's Achilles heel because he knows Anakin better than anyone else. He's struggling with the council because the council is basically asking him to set his feelings aside and do something that needs to be done. And obviously he's going to have a problem with it. I once again, I think the Jedi were right because they suspected a Sith Lord at the top of government because they were told that before. And the person closest to the Chancellor was Anakin, so he was the obvious choice for it. But obviously it was going to hurt him to do so. And so when Obi-Wan is talking to Ahsoka, I think another part of that is he talks about, Dooku being murdered. The name Sidious popped up again, and he's like, yeah, sadly, any chance we have to find out more has been lost because Anakin killed him. But he's like, I know something's going on with Anakin. If anyone can reach him right now, it'd probably be you, and he says that the council is not always right.
Mhm.
That's why I'm asking you to talk to him.
Yeah, and I just find it so interesting that those conversations are so. It's like you could literally put them together and it'd be exactly the same, because she has the same, and it's funny because she has the same mindset. You're pitting him against somebody that he's looked up to his entire life. Why are you doing this? Like, it's kind of like it's so interesting to see how close they really truly are, and it's just a testament to how well both characters are written in this show,
Mhm.
and how much they are bonded together.
And how close they actually come to stopping Palpatine all throughout
Yes.
this. It's very close.
No, well, yeah. I mean, even if you go back to earlier seasons when they go to Mustafar and they save the younglings, like there's like a big thing that forwarded a plan of Palpatine's. Because I mean, if he gets a hold of younglings and he makes them Sith assassins, like that's a game changer, right there. But yeah, it's a little bit of a tangent, but I really do like that that conversation because it like I said, this does so well. You can put this, and they've done edits where you can literally there's a 4-hour cut of Siege of Mandalore intercut with Revenge of the Sith, and
It's great.
it is quite literally one of the like if you can spend 4 hours of a day, like spend 4 hours of your day and you watch it, it's just it is pretty
Watching everything
fantastic.
play out in chronological order is kind of terrifying.
Yeah, it's tough. It really is tough. But the conversation gets cut short. Rex says that there's an attack. And basically, I think it's not Jesse. Does Jesse get taken? It's not
Yes,
Jesse.
it is.
Yes,
Jesse.
Jesse. That's Jesse.
Yeah, it's Jesse. So Maul takes Jesse and he uses like the Kylo Ren mind thing that is like incredible that everybody uses now. And he finds out that there's the inhibitor chip. And it's so interesting how it clicks in Maul's mind that, ooh, that's how they're going to do this. Because that goes to show you that he was still in the dark, even when Sidious was doing things in the background.
Well,
Like,
no, it's because later in the arc, because remember in Shattered when Order 66 goes on, he's like,
Oh,
he
that's
turned
right.
his own army against him.
even I'm doing it. Like this whole, I'm telling you, this
I
all
was
goes
not
together.
privy to my master's plan.
Yes. And then Ahsoka, I think they end up capturing. Who do they end up capturing? No, they push back Gar Saxon. Gar Saxon calls for help. No, that's in the Shattered. No, that's in this episode.
No, it's in this episode.
Oh
because-
my goodness, we are just doing so well right now.
I'm like, I love how Char and Luke are all over the place. I'm just like, no, it's this.
Yeah. See.
Yeah, and then Maul's
spy.
like, bye, and then he just leaves him there.
So yeah, Maul leaves him there. Then he obviously sets up another trap for Bo, Rex, and Ahsoka. And we see like an all-out battle, which is interesting because we don't see, like, besides Umbara, we don't see sentient beings fighting sentient beings again. Like, I feel like that's the most interesting part of most of the Clone Wars is that you only see clone on droid, you never see like natives fighting the clone troopers. And it's interesting because they, at the beginning, they were originally Mandalorian. So it'd be like Mandalorian on Mandalorian action, which is blows my mind every single time. But so then we get the awesome scene with Maul and Ahsoka, where they have a nice little back and forth. And as this saber fight, which is probably one of my favorites, it's got to be a top 5, top 10 saber fight. It seems like Maul is trying to recruit Ahsoka. My question is, do you think Maul genuinely wanted to recruit Ahsoka to his side?
Yes. I actually think Maul is extremely sincere in this entire arc. He believes but we just don't know what his ends are. Because his end isn't he doesn't want peace. All he's doing, all it is the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And it's going to be, what is it? The story of the frog and the scorpion. If she teams up with her, she would get screwed over at some point because that is who he is.
Anybody else?
I mean, I say this pretty much the same thing. I mean, I think he would have done the same thing he did to like the Mandalorians. He's like hyping them up. He's like, "Oh, you will go out in the glory of battle," and stuff like that. And then like when they lose, he's like, "Die well, Mandalorians. Peace out." I think he probably would have done the exact same thing to Ahsoka.
Oh, you thought I was gonna come with you? No. I didn't say that.
I'm a head out.
I didn't sign any contracts. Okay, Maul.
But yeah, I agree. I think he would have. I think he knew he needed all the help he could get. So I really think he would. Anybody who he saw as like worthy, I guess, he would have tried to recruit to take on because he knows how powerful Palpatine is.
No, yeah, and I like Ven's comment. I feel bad for Maul. Dude's always lonely and constantly trying to scoop an apprentice.
Savage, Dooku, Ahsoka, Ezra. This man does not run out of apprentices.
Yeah. He's 1 for 5?
1 for 3, 0
3
and 4.
Yeah. Not very good. Not very good as a master, to be honest. Billy, your thoughts?
No, I'm thinking of it, and I like how you're bringing up the part like clones versus the droids, like how we can dehumanize our enemies. And obviously for this media, that makes more sense. You can have a body count and children can watch this show without, trying to wrap their minds around the implications of like real world war, but still understand the concepts and be able to like look at it in that way. But as far as Maul and Ahsoka, yeah, he was going to try to recruit her, but just to use her as a pawn, just to use her in a game as like a piece in his game, which is probably why he's not able to keep any apprentices, because he doesn't truly care for them. He just cares about them for his own means.
Which is funny because that's exactly what he said that they were doing to them. They're like, we were just tools for their greater power, and he's trying to do the same thing. It's pretty funny.
No, because like he's trying to like poorly imitate his master. He's trying to like manipulate Ahsoka to the dark side so he could use her to get to Anakin. It's all this ploy, because if you think about it, Ahsoka showing up threw Maul's entire plan out the window, because he probably would have just been an idiot and tried to bum rush Obi-Wan and Anakin and get killed and ganked instantly. But since Ahsoka's here, he's like, okay, maybe I can use Ahsoka and her attachment to Anakin, because he was playing Jesse's mind, trying to figure out what is Ahsoka's place in all of this. And he's like, oh, he's Anakin's apprentice. Maybe if I turn her to my side, she'll take me to Coruscant and lead me to him so I can kill him. That's all. That was all his endgame. It was one thing.
That scene made me laugh so hard when Jesse was telling Maul that he would not tell him anything, and Maul's just like, charming that you actually believe that.
No, yeah, it's very interesting because I think it's a mixture. I think he is genuine a little bit, but I also do think he is using her as a pawn.
Well, both can be true for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Char, free Todd.
Man's going
God, I'm
crazy.
sorry.
The man's going crazy.
Yeah.
Rip God.
So we get the lightsaber fight. We get the interesting, like, when he gets kicked, he goes through, like, or no, he jumps and he goes through the I always love that because it's like both sabers go through and then he just falls through. I'm like, nice. And it's really impressive to see Ahsoka really take on Maul. Like, for as long as she's been out of the Jedi Order, she's still got it. She's still a badass. And then she ends up he's like begging her to kill him because he knows that if he gets taken back to Palpatine, he's screwed. Like, this whole thing is and it's the best lines from Sam Witwer ever. I love the lines of him screaming. It's
He
just
got robbed of an enemy in this arc.
yeah. It's quite bone chilling. We're all going to die, and then it just gets like stunned. And that's the end of episode 2. Hereth?
Now take it away to. Before I get into this episode, I have to explain one thing. So this is my all-time favorite Clone Wars episode of all time. It used to be The Lawless up until season 7, and then this episode happened on my birthday. It was on my 18th birthday. Dave Filoni was like, all right, here's this little bow. Depression.
And before Hereth starts, may I acknowledge that how different this show feels without Godfried? I don't know, that's just me. I just feel like I just like screaming and I can't.
Char's a denial. He's just wanting to live for one more.
I just want to yell.
But no, this episode picks up. It's the next day, fades it back out. We see an LTC gunship land. We see Maul still captured. Bo-Katan and Ahsoka walk over to the little field of where they were battling, and it's just all charred. And Ahsoka's like, "You're gonna need a new leader, a different type of leader." And she's like, "I'm not my sister." And Ahsoka's like, "Figure it out," essentially. And they roll back out. Rex is like, "Hey, not to interrupt this moment, but we need to come with me immediately. There's something going on." And she's like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Anakin's at the meeting. Come with me." And Ahsoka walk in, and we get honestly one of the coolest moments in all of Clone Wars. It cuts in, and we see quite literally the scene from Revenge of the Sith in animation from Ahsoka's point of view of the chancellor, we must arrest the chancellor. He's like, we must arrest the chancellor. He's like, well, it's difficult because he reigns in office. And then Yoda being like, huh, we got to figure this out. And then Ahsoka walks in, and we get, I would say, arguably one of the most controversial scenes of this arc of Ahsoka and Mace talking about
Citizen.
what they're gonna do. I know what Brandon's gonna say on this, so let's just talk about this. Let's talk about this whole moment of Ahsoka being like, "I'm a citizen. I'm not gonna tell you anything." And Rex is like, "What the hell are you doing? You should tell him things." And she's like, "No, I'm not going to." And what are you guys' whole thoughts on this entire scene between Ahsoka and the Jedi Council?
With Mace Windu coming in and saying, "Miss me." Anyway, sorry. Continue.
No, I was asking you, what are you guys' thoughts on this whole scene with Ahsoka talking to the Jedi Council?
Well, I guess first, Mace is so petty. Me, so powerful. Respect him a lot, but so petty for putting face like that. And then Ahsoka right back at him is so sassy. Well, you know what? I don't trust you, Anakin. I'll deal with it when I get there. They both, if they just communicated, which is just the name of any scenario, if they just communicated, so much would have been done and put into place. But those are very
Nice.
I love it.
Oh my god.
No, yeah, but you're true. I mean, the citizen. This does not involve you, citizen. Hit hard, and I'm like, she wouldn't be a citizen if y'all would have trusted her. Damn you. But
I'm just waiting for Chris to talk about the trial right now.
No,
oh God. Oh no.
waiting for him to give another Padawan rating.
Oh good God. Choco, your feelings?
What are your whole thoughts on this whole situation? Because I know you spoke about it a little bit earlier in the episode about, you're like, it's not that controversial. Mace is in the right here.
not that he's in the right, but like she just said, I did my duty as a citizen. She was like, I'm not getting involved past this level, is essentially what she said to them. And then she tries to get involved further, and he's like, I'm sorry, citizen. And what's and I know a lot of people read it as angry, but like I honestly don't hear any like venom on his voice when he says it. I don't know, but that's just me. Was it the nicest thing he could have said? No. Is he required to say the nice thing? No.
He doesn't have to be nice.
But at this moment, though, I mean, at this moment, the Clone Wars is almost at an end. Dooku is dead. Grievous is dead.
It's destroyed.
And they are about to find out, like, all right, we suspect a Sith Lord is in the Chancellor's office. And if Palpatine doesn't, sit this out, things are going to get real crazy here real fast. And she already separated herself from the Jedi. I don't know. You're not privy to it. If you work at Starbucks and you quit and, you want to go in and go be past the counter, you're like, sorry, customer, you're a customer now. You don't get to come back here. That's weird.
That's weird. That's so true, though. That's so true, because it's like everybody holds a lot of the like the main thing that people hate about Mace Windu is that they put blame on him for all of Anakin's mistakes, which should not be the case, because the only person that should be taking responsibility for Anakin's actions is Anakin. And that's you can't put it on Mace just because Mace wasn't very fond of Anakin. You know what I mean? And
it was like he's a dick. He's out of line, but he's right.
Yes. He might use a tone, but when he uses that tone, that usually means, hey, he's usually right.
The thing that this is where I feel like with this whole moment that annoys me. Have all y'all like read Fallen Star? Because I'm gonna hit a point right here. This is like, making sure, just double checking. Max, have you?
I haven't, but you're not gonna hurt my feelings. You can go ahead and talk about it.
Okay, it's this issue. It's not really. It's not even major. It's minor as hell. It's the issue when everyone has a piece of information and no one's communicating. Like Ahsoka has this major piece of information. Darth Sidious is Anakin's best friend, and he's trying to turn him to the dark side. She doesn't know it's Chancellor Palpatine yet. Mace Windu is suspecting it's Chancellor Palpatine. I get she wants to save it for Anakin when they meet up in person, and she doesn't really believe it at this point. But if she just said one little hint, like, hey, Maul's letting on more information than we know. We should bring him in here, interrogate him, see what he's seeing. Like, little stuff like that, where it's like, okay, you had this piece of information. If you just would have said one thing, everything could have been different. But no, y'all are just being in your own corners, being like, we're just going to hide this information over here. Like, I get, like, Mace is in the right, like, okay, like, you left the order, you don't get access to this information. But it's like everything has little pieces of everything. It's just like, if Maul and Ahsoka and Mace were in a room together, everything could have been solved.
Yeah, at the same time, it also can go a step back if Anakin didn't execute Dooku when Dooku was literally unarmed, unhanded, no hands, little nubs. Also, they could have solved a lot of stuff as well.
Very quickly, everyone watching, go ahead and drop a like on the stream. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, go ahead and do so.
Deploy the likes.
Appreciate that.
Do it.
Yes.
I mean,
also this.
Yeah, I know. He's watching me every single time. I know. Fuck you.
That's awesome.
No, but it's like can you highlight Chris's comment?
Which one? The intelligence one?
I mean, no, the other one. No,
Okay.
yeah. I'll hit piece by piece. So I understand that. I get that outside of universe. Like, I know why that had to happen that way. I understand this was rated 15 years later in a vacuum. I understand that. But in universe, it's still frustrating. It's like this thing that happens in Star Wars. You're just like, communicate. Mm-hmm. That also goes to Anakin runs it. Next one.
Oh, that's Anakin all the time.
That is
Come on.
Padme's like, we can talk to Obi-Wan. We don't need Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
we do, homie.
We're about to have a child. We're both not ready for this. We're both not ready for this.
Should we tell Obi-Wan and like confront him? No, we can't tell Obi-Wan because we're gonna get kicked out of the order.
What? I mean, would that have been such a bad thing for him?
No,
Listen,
it would have been the right
Anakin
thing.
leaves the order. They have kids, and they start a private security firm with Rex.
Fiction. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. But Hereth, you were going with the.
I was again. I wanted to pause on that scene because I feel like that was a good moment to kind of pause on. We pick back up after that. It's over. Rex and Ahsoka's like Rex is like, why didn't you tell her? And he's like, because we'll meet at Anakin later. And Rex is like, okay. And we finally get this like really haunting Blade Runner-esque score from Kiner. It just goes over this last like moments. It's just like, it's also very similar to Anakin and Padme when they're staring at each other in Revenge of the Sith, like where they could see each other. Like, I think that's really where the inspiration came from. But like the way this score just moves and haunts them, and like they're walking through Bo-Katan, you get this like very somber goodbye between Ahsoka and Bo-Katan. Like, we'll see each other again. They pick up Maul. The camera zooms right on Maul. Like Maul is like terrified, like he knows something's gonna happen. Go out to the hangar. We get this amazing scene, final, like I would say goodbye, but not really goodbye, between Ahsoka and Rex. And Ahsoka's repeating a lot of stuff from like what Mace Windu was saying in Attack of the Clones, of like, we were supposed to be keepers of the peace, not soldiers. Rex, you weren't supposed to be here. None of this was supposed to happen. And that was just it's so heartbreaking. And then they're like, hey Rex, you got something coming in. There's something from the mission. Come in. And Ahsoka's like, no, you take it. I'll just give me a minute. And this is the moment where I lost my mind when this happened. I can remember like watching this on my phone. I dropped my phone. I was like, what? And like she's looking out into hyperspace, meditating on the Force, and you hear the scene from Revenge of the Sith with Mace Windu, Anakin, and Palpatine, and she's witnessing all of this. And then like this is the first time and only time you'll ever hear Hayden Christensen in Clone Wars of just like no words can describe
that actually
that
is that isn't Hayden Christensen. That's Matt Lanter's voice.
No, it's intercut.
No, you get both. You get
you do get both.
You get Hayden Christensen because it's like he must live, and then you get Matt Lanter's of what have I done?
Oh yeah. No, I meant the what have I done part. That was Matt Lanter's.
You hear it both, but you also hear Hayden, Samuel Jackson, and Ian McDiarmid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
that's pretty awesome.
Then you cut in to Order 66, and you see the cloak of Palpatine. You get the line from Ian McDiarmid ripped straight from Revenge of the Sith, and saying Order 66. And you get the interesting line of Rex saying, yes, Lord Sidious. So I'm always just so curious about this moment because I'll ask this. Like, how do you guys think the inhibitor chips operate? Because do you think the inhibitor chips gave Rex all that information? Or do you think Rex was like, okay, Ahsoka said this about Darth Sidious, so he's clearly the Chancellor, and just put pieces together? Like, what are you guys like? How do you guys interpret that moment with Rex saying, yes, Lord Sidious?
I think it's programmed, like just straight, like it's like, almost like Terminator or something like that. It just like logs in, they just like dun dun dun, dun, dun like all the text like scrolls down and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I honestly think it's like kind of more fitting that way, is because like they kind of like really harp on like the whole episode, like their like the clones' minds like aren't their own, like they're not clones anymore. They're like a whole nother like entity, and I think. It would make more sense if they were just like, it's like a light switch, it just like once it flips, it's like they have all the information, they know Darth Sidious, they know all that, like all that's just like in that inhibitor chip.
Yeah, fully agree. I love that when he says yes, Lord Sidious, because Ahsoka had just heard Sidious for the first time, and when she mentioned it, like Rex wasn't there. Rex walked away when she was on the holocaust.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And Rex wasn't there when she was talking with just Maul about it. So like that information came from somewhere, and so I like to think of it as like you put tin foil on your pan before you put it in the oven, and so you just like ball it up and you just get rid of all the stuff that they've put on it, and then you're down to like their actual baseline again. And apparently, Rex had a couple nuggets left over that was able to help him out. But I have a lot of questions about Order 66 myself because does it have to be? Yeah, I just have a lot of questions. Hopefully, we get them answered in the Bad Batch.
No, I agree. And well, I mean, even just talking about this moment, like how, like, because I remember I didn't read the Ahsoka novel up until 21, and that was a year after this was all done. But I remember the talk around this arc was, well, Rex can't commit Order 66 because of the Ahsoka novel. So what was your guys' reaction to seeing Rex commit Order 66? 'Cause I remember my reaction was I was shook. I was like, what? Like, what is going on? Because that entire moment just had me in for a loop, and I felt nothing but hard emotions.
I mean, it could have been like a frequency, like I don't know, Sidious didn't call up every single clone, be like, hey, execute Order 66. Like I wonder if he like called that frequency and every clone heard like his name being said by Darth Sidious, like execute Order 66, and then it just clicked on inside of their brain.
So it is a frequency because in Bad Batch, they talk about that because Tech says that there's a frequency and it says and it's saying execute Order 66. So it is a frequency to where it flips with the inhibitor and it takes on. And I think the most like the best use of that saying is in Kenobi. I think when they use that over and over again, that's what the clones are hearing. It's like nonstop. It's not just once. It's ongoing until all of the Jedi are gone.
I think you're onto something because when Rex is like find 5, like his eyes are twitching. He's like trying to like overpower Order 66. He's like,
yeah.
Did you guys ever watch a show Dollhouse?
No.
It was an old show, and like only the first season is good, but it just kind of reminded me of that. It was an old Joss Whedon show. He's a piece of crap, but the show itself was good. And it's about these people that will essentially, like, they need money and stuff, so they basically sign a contract where they are letting this company like wipe their mind and input things in it for different purposes. So like a super rich person's kid gets kidnapped, and so like her mind, they put in the information from like this investigator so that she can be the person to negotiate and investigate and get the kid back. Or there's also the shady ones where like a guy who became a millionaire, his wife like got in an accident on her way home from work where he was going to tell her and show her he bought a house and all this stuff. And so he would put his wife's memories in her like once a year so that he can live the day that as he wanted it and stuff like that. But like, it's actually, I'd never put it together because it's quite similar because it is a frequency, and for the main character, certain of those of her past starts to bleed through and you wipe them at any point. It's, I don't know, just really interconnected. It's a good show, the first season.
yeah. So what the hell is going on with that? I've been like glancing over and be like,
I'm Rick Harrison and this is my pawn shop. You'll never know what's gonna walk through that door.
Maybe it's Order 66 and emotional damage. You'll never fucking know.
501st just pulls up to the pawn shop.
Best I can do is $3.
Rick Harrison, you've been marked for termination under Order 66.
Under the special organization.
Every pawn shop owner must be executed for treason against the Republic.
Yes!
What is going on?
I love this. I don't know. You know what? Like,
we needed this for this episode because it's so emotionally devastating. You kind of need these like little breaks of like
the humor is balancing.
It's balancing it out.
I mean, you can't help but love it. You know, that's the one thing I love about live shows is that you never know what's gonna happen. You know, what episode was it when we just had like Darth Vader, Ewan McGregor? Like, I know they shut up earlier. The Lost Ones. It just went like half the episode is like unusable.
Y'all motherfuckers who are using these alt accounts, you better be liking the stream, or I'll
Yeah,
find
yeah,
you.
yeah,
I will
yeah.
find you and kill you.
Yeah. Well, okay, no. We're not. No, we're not going.
Hereth, I know
Hey,
we're talking about
hey,
Order 66, but
hey,
that
we
went a little bit too
can't- we
far.
can't be making
Hereth
threats
has been
like that.
playing GTA too much.
Yeah,
It's bleeding,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
bleeding through.
We are not part of Sons of Anarchy. We cannot just go out threatening people.
Can't
you
slap people
cannot
in the
do that.
face with a skateboard. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hereth,
exactly. You can't
Don't be over
do
here
that.
threatening Chumley, okay?
Good my God. I mean, that man has been to prison. Come on. You don't mess with Chumley.
Anyway, let's continue.
Anyways, speaking of light humor, Ahsoka finally gets out of there. She jumps up to the vents, pops down, frees Maul, and Maul's like, oh, like I said earlier, oh my God, the clones are being used. Palpatine's a genius. He used his own army against them. And Ahsoka's like, all right, let's go. And Maul's like, wait. Like, okay, let's team up. We're going to go this way. We're going to go with it. And Ahsoka's like, I'm not teaming up with you. You're the diversion. You go over there. Maul's like, well, can you at least give me a lightsaber to give me like a fighting chance? And Ahsoka's like, no, fuck you. Go over there and go deal with them. And like the face Maul makes always just makes me laugh because there's like okay. And he just like walks off, and Ahsoka's like goes over, sprints over, goes over to the droids parts, activates all the droids, and like starts locking into that episode or the transmission. Why say episode? Sorry, I was reading.
You saw
Ben's comment.
Yeah.
Chat. Locking in, they go into the fives, and she gets like the Llama Stew thing, and she's like, "What the hell is this?" Like, she's like, "Load up Rex's," and the droid's like, "It's locked," and she's like, "It's Anakin's message." She's like, "Yes." She goes, "Use the code 8108." I was gonna say something, but I don't know if Char's using it through interesting facts, so I'm gonna save my thought for that later. I'm gonna just take.
Oh
that.
no, go ahead.
Or is it not part of your interesting facts?
I don't think. No. Wait. There's
Number 8108.
No.
Okay, so guess bonus fact to 3 interesting facts, even though it's before 3 interesting facts. That number actually has a certain interesting relation. It's because 81 is Hayden Christensen's birth year, 1981, and the 08 is the year the Clone Wars movie came out. So it's 8108. So it's both Hayden Christensen's and Matt Lanter's. There you go. That's an interesting fact there. But go through. Ahsoka's watching the fives messages, trying to like decrypt what's going on and something. But she's like, okay, the inhibitor chips. There's something going on here. And then we jump cut. Maul's just ripping through the ship. He's just killing clones and like again, like what was your guys' like thoughts on like that whole scene when that first was going on with like Maul like ripping the ship apart with like and like grabbing clones and like throwing them down in a hallway?
Epic. I mean, it was very very Rogue One-esque, and like I know Sam's played a lot of different characters and stuff like that. I definitely come from the video game side of Star Wars for sure. So it reminded me of The Force Unleashed because like you can just do that sort of stuff within the game. And I was like, dang, this is so like Star Killer-esque and like such like in that kind of style universe. And like he was just savage. He was just like, all right, I don't even need a weapon. I'll just start pulling stuff off the walls and blocking. And then when he cuts the clone trooper's arm off at the very end, I was like, oh man, I was like, they're getting real. I was like, this is supposed to be a kid's show, and they're like slicing clones' arms off and stuff like that. I was like, all right.
I just love how Maul's like, all right, you didn't give me a lightsaber? Bet. I'm using the entire ship as a weapon. Just like it's so brutal. And then, like you said, the arm falls, and he's like, oh, they're communicating. I'm just going to take that
I'll
for
take
me.
that.
And then again, Ahsoka diverges the droids. They get Rex. They finally are locking him down, and she was able to knock him out with a shocking. Sadly enough, like again, kind of like what Luke was saying earlier about Phantom Apprentice, if you pay attention to what Ahsoka is saying to Rex during that message, it's very similar to what Omega says to Crosshair in the first episode of Bad Batch. It's like, this is not you. You were programmed into this at a young age. It's not you. I know it's not you. It's, again, very devastating. Thank you, fan edits, for breaking my heart forever. Then finally they get in. They put him in like a little chamber, and the droid can't find the inhibitor chip, so Ahsoka's like, all right, I'm going to improvise here. I'm going to use the Force. And then you get this awesome callback to Rogue One with, I am the one with the Force, and the Force is with me. And she's like, and like you get like D. Bradley Baker and Ashley's accent like harmonizing at one moment. It's just like, you're like, and the score builds and builds, and then they finally find it. And then the clones start breaking through, and like Ahsoka's like doing this like last stand. And I mean, you don't know where Rex's allegiance is. He just rips out like the guns and like finally shoots it off, and he's with Ahsoka. And Ahsoka's like deactivates and like, She finally runs over to Rex, and she's like, "Okay, what's going on?" And Rex gives almost a line-for-line recreation of what Alec Guinness tells Luke in A New Hope. The clone troopers have been ordered to execute and hunt down the Jedi Knights, and it cuts to black, and then you hear Darth Sidious's theme, and you're just like, "Holy fuck, what an episode!" And now I'll give it back to Char for the final episode to take us home.
All
Well,
right.
Sorry, can I just
No, you're good.
one
Yeah.
thing real quick. So the 810 the password also, I mean, just a straight release date of the Clone Wars movie was August 10th, 2008. So
There
to
you
add
go.
that. Also, why is password security so bad? There's no symbols, there's no underscores, you need
But that's
a
also
can't
a
throw a little
character-
Arabesh in there.
That's also character for Anakin. Let's be 100% honest here, though. Anakin would have the most simple password in the world.
Birth
Well, it
year.
can't be symbols because those analysis droids only focus on symbols. Luke, where's the glove?
Cloners.
It just
Cloners.
reminds me of the Red Hood joke in Titans. They're like, the password, what's the password? And you're like, it's Jason Todd made it. It's like, oh, okay, what is it? And it turns out it's 42069.
Yeah. Nope.
Jason
yeah.
Todd.
Yeah. Crazy. But Char.
All right, we dive into the final episode of Clone Wars, which is season 7, episode 12, Victory and Death. And a lot of things happen here. So we get the scene where Ahsoka and Rex are trapped in the medical bay where they're trying to find where the inhibitor chip is. Ahsoka finds it, and Rex is able to get up from under the surgery table and fend off the clones that were attacking Ahsoka because she was struggling with how many were getting through the door. And once Rex came up, the droids sealed the door, and they had a moment to talk as humans rather than Ahsoka and a controlled, essentially a completely different entity. And so what makes this so crazy is that right when that happens, Ahsoka just asks, "Are you okay?" She doesn't get mad at him for almost executing her multiple times. She just says, "Are you okay?" And he says, "Yeah, kid, I am all right. I almost killed you. What happened?" And she's like, "Rex, how many of us have this?" And he says, "Ahsoka, it's all of us. The entire Grand Army of the Republic has been ordered to execute the Jedi." And this is a huge revelation for her. And this is exactly what this is very similar to what Maul told her when she went to go free him, is that every clone has been programmed to hunt the Jedi. And it's a very ominous scene where you have them two together, and then you have about maybe 20, 30 clone troopers outside the door trying to hunt them down. And they try to figure out an escape plan. And the droids that assisted Ahsoka with getting him into the medical bay are assisting them to get out. And they come up with this very, very genius plan where they're going to Elmo, what do you I kind of want to cook you. I'm trying to get into the spiel. And
hold on, real quick. I wanna address this to Elmo. Elmo, you're absolutely right, but this is not the time or the fucking place to be lecturing me about being nice. All right.
There is no niceness when they're sad.
Honestly, you know who I want. You know who I think that is? Chase. He loves the Muppets. He loves the Muppets. So straight up,
I could see that.
I could see that. It'd be Alanis and it would be Chase. But anyway,
That would be the funniest. We all think it's Char's best friend, but they all just manipulate us into thinking it's someone else entirely. That would be the most
All
them
right,
thing.
I mean,
Sorry,
last
Char.
time something like this happened, it was Brian.
Okay, so anyway, enough with the Elmo talk. So when they're trying to escape the medical bay and they're trying to get to the hangar to escape off the ship, we notice that Ahsoka is not trying to kill any of the clones, and you see her command Rex to use stun only, and that she doesn't want the lives of the clones to be on her, and so she only wants them to use stun. She does not want any lives of the clones being taken. Why do you think Ahsoka cares so much about the clones' lives compared to her other former peers inside the Jedi Order?
Because she can sense Master Yoda go in Mortal Kombat on all these freaking clones in the Jedi Temple. She's being like, shame. Like, you ever seen that? That's that Hot Fuzz meme wherever he's like loading the shotgun or whatever. And he's like, shame, and then he starts like blowing people away in Hot Fuzz. It's always what I think about.
I love that because like I said, it's sort of my mind when rewatching and even watching it the first time. It's like I'm not gonna kill them, Rex. Meanwhile, the Jedi Temple, Yoda,
Yeah. Obi-Wan's like, all right, cut off an arm. Here we go. You killed all of my family, basically, But anyway.
Yeah, does anyone have any other thoughts about Choco?
Great. You're right, though. But I think for Ahsoka specifically, she was a baby, basically, right? 14 years old when she joined this war. She was a child soldier. So I think especially adults, the adult Jedi, like they were commanders and these were their soldiers. And so these were their responsibilities, their pawns, They respected the clones, but they were just fighters. With Ahsoka, like she grew up with them, and I'm sure she had a very close connection with most of them, especially inside of this division. So it wasn't like, oh, like these are my soldiers. No, these are like my brothers. These are my friends. Like I can't kill them. Like they have their helmets on, but I know who every single one of these clones are underneath that helmet. She had a really special connection. It just wasn't going to happen for her, probably because she met them when she was so young.
Yeah. And loyalty.
Just like Anakin said, loyalty means everything. Also, from my point of view, anyway,
No.
I actually see them as the exact same thing. So this is a subdivision of the 501st. This is who she has been commanding in the trenches with for these past 3.5 years, like the most pivotal years of her life. For Yoda, he's been training these Jedi for 800 years. And I think, obviously he's going to be murking clones in there because he's spent all of his time with the Jedi and he's there to protect the Jedi. They're trying to get to, to the signal and figure out what was going on. So I honestly see them as the same exact thing. And I also see if push came to shove, she would take him down because she does kill the very first two that attack her with Rex. And then also, side note, she released Maul. Did she not think Maul was going to?
Yeah.
I also, she released Maul to run and do chaos and do damage, and Maul is the one that takes down the ship. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this, but I do love the fact that she doesn't want to directly be responsible because, it is heartbreaking. She's grown up around these guys and she loves them and they love her very much.
You bring up an interesting point because I'm thinking back to that episode with Obi-Wan and Satine because she's a pacifist. She doesn't want to get her hands dirty because of her morals, right? But Anakin is the one who saves the day because he shoots the guy. Like she's still alive. Like she wouldn't be able to be a pacifist if somebody didn't resort to violence. And maybe Ahsoka, I'm not saying she got the easy way out, but she didn't have to get her hands dirty because she let Maul out.
Yeah, good points. And Choco, I find that interesting question about why did Ahsoka not want to take out the clones, but knowing what Maul is going to do, he's going to do exactly that. Well, Ahsoka just didn't want the lives of the clones on her hands, which brings up to the next topic of this episode. So Ahsoka and Rex make their way towards the hangar bay, and you see Jesse and all these clones line up to barricade them and block them from leaving the ship. And Rex and Ahsoka try to come up with this plan on escape. And Rex has a very touching moment where he says, Ahsoka, I know that you care about their lives, but they don't care. They're willing to die to take you and I with them, and the soldiers, my brothers, are willing to die for it. And Ahsoka just pauses for a second, takes off his helmet, and you see the tear running down his eyes. And it's like he's finally trying to understand what's going on, is that his brothers are being controlled by this. And he was a part of it for a moment until Ahsoka saved him. And just seeing what the clone troopers were meant for, there's so many different ways you can depict that scene, that tear that falls down his face. And then Ahsoka tells him, I will not be the one to kill them. And they go down there, and Ahsoka has a plan, and Rex goes down there and says, oh, hold your fire, I got this under control. And then Jesse's like, execute it or I will. And then Rex is trying to be Mr. Diplomat. Well, babe, hold on a second. Ahsoka Tano is not a member of the Jedi Order anymore. So, as a matter of fact, we don't have to execute her. And then Jesse has a moment, and then he points his guns again. And then Rex says, Jesse, I've been with you for a long time. If we make this mistake right now, we will be the ones making the treason here. And then he says, Commander Rex, I now mark you or I'm
As a traitor of the Republic. Yeah.
I mark you for treason under the Republic. You are marked for Order 66 and blah 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 blah. And then he's demoted to captain. I'm demoting you from commander, and you will be relieved of duty. And then he says, well, I didn't like being a commander anyway. And then they go and then you have the droids on the side lifting up the lifts to kind of make them have less fire getting in their way. So you have these 3 levels dropping down, and then you have just to like make the numbers less, to make it I'm trying to find the right words here, but just to divide the numbers, I'd say. And so they come up with this huge plan, and when they're doing that, they see Maul trying to escape on the ship that they were trying to get on. And which is a very interesting thing, because right when Maul gets in the ship, they have a little bit of a fight, and Ahsoka gets pushed and Maul gets on there. And Ahsoka is in the middle of force pulling the ship to make sure Maul doesn't escape, and trying to make sure that Rex doesn't get taken down. And she's trying to make that choice. And when I was watching this, I love how she was willing. There was a close up of her hand, and she just let go of Maul, and then got back to protecting Rex. And I loved how there's so many lessons with Star Wars, especially amongst the Jedi Order and the Clone Wars, about letting go and being able to move on and be like, okay, for another time, but I have to focus on what's important here, which is getting off the ship and making sure Rex and I get out of here alive. And so what happens is, right after that, they find their way out, and that droid slaughter was very sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that was like excessive. They were like, "Hey, not only we're going to shoot him, we're going to keep shooting." They're just
I was like, since when can a droid commit treason?
That was the opening of RoboCop, but for droids, and you're like, "Jeez, he's doing that."
Yeah, 4 clones gain up on an R2 unit, and they're just
Also,
like, why? That's so mean.
One
They're
thing,
pretending it's Ayla Secura.
when
Oh, no.
Ahsoka like slices at Maul, like I like that 2 seconds of him just going like, "Oh man, this chick's not playing around." Like I almost died. Like,
no, I
he
love
just,
the
like,
video
slices
Nidra made
it.
of like the lightsaber goes to her throat, and he's like, I could have died.
Yeah, yeah. His face is just like, "Oh my god!" Like that was close. You know.
I also love how they use a little bit of the Kenobi scream at the end. And he throws her away.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Also, how cool is it to just have Ahsoka facing them, and Rex has his guns on either side of her, like firing, and she's like dodging. It was just such a cool, like, animated scene.
Yeah, they have such good chemistry and teamwork, and it definitely shows throughout like this next 20 minutes of them just trying to fend off all the other clone troopers. But Billy, do you have any other thoughts about their escape from the ship?
My mind is completely blank because I'm like feeling all of these emotions all over again, and it's traumatizing.
Oh, I don't blame you. As a Star Wars fan, trauma is like every day.
Yeah, I'm stuck in place right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so Rex sees a Y-wing available that's still on the ship that they can get off of. So they get off there, and the ship is mid exploding. Like they barely make it off of there alive, and then they escape. Rex gets on there, and they make it off to the planet, and they survive. They barely survive because right when it gets into the atmosphere, they exit out of it, and they survive. I find it remarkable how they were able to get out of there, defeat about maybe or stun about 200 clones, and still be able to make it out on a Y-wing. But so this is where Clone Wars essentially ends right here. So they get down to the planet, and there is an emotional scene with them burying all the clones, which was why Ahsoka didn't want to be the one to kill them, because loyalty is everything, and the fact that she buried the clones that had her face on their armor or their helmets, there's so much poetry with it. And with Rex being able to have to bury his brothers, and then there's a moment where Ahsoka has her lightsabers in her hand and she just drops them to be able to be like, hey, if these are found, they will think I'm dead, and I'll be able to, and then they won't have any speculation as to where I am when they see my lightsabers on the ground, because it's once again, it's me letting go and moving on from what has happened. So and then that right there is the end of the Clone Wars, and then we get this time lapse, like 10 years into the future, with the Empire and Vader, which this is the first time Vader's ever been in Clone Wars animation. It looked so beautiful. And they're looking over the ship. You get probe droids, you get snow troopers, you get all of these people just surrounding the ship. And in the snow, you can see Ahsoka's lightsaber, and you can see one of the 330 seconds helmet. And it's like when you see Vader go and grab the lightsaber, and you see Ahsoka's face on a clone trooper's helmet in the ground, as visible as ever, and you see Vader ignite the lightsaber while looking up at the Clone Wars ship. It's like a walk down memory lane for him, and a reflection of who he once was, just like how Choco said earlier. And it's a very, very impactful moment. And so the last question I want to ask you guys is, why do you think Vader chooses to go to the planet so long after Ahsoka's? And where do you think it takes place in the timeline? Because we all know that it takes place in the Imperial era, but we have no idea when exactly. We'll go with Max.
Oh, okay. I don't think Vader needed to go. I think Anakin needed to go. I think there's, Anakin, like Vader definitely. I'm kind of on the boat that like Vader and Anakin are kind of like, he has like almost like multiple personalities sort of thing. Like they're two different people. Like he pushes one down and the other one comes up, and then sometimes it flip flops. And I think in that moment, Anakin kind of needed that. That's why he ignites the lightsaber. He kind of looks up at like the what animal is that called? The Morai.
Yeah.
I was blanking on the name. He looks up and he kind of has that moment. And then as soon as the lightsaber deactivates, he goes back to being Vader. He also kind of puts it behind it. He just deactivates it and walks away. Anakin got that little moment, and then Vader came back in. Also, real quick though, I did want to harsh on the when it pans to Jesse, real quick. Before we get to Vader, the reason why for me that scene hits so freaking hard is because Jesse was originally supposed to be in Rebels. He was supposed to be like one of the members in that clone like brigade.
Oh, on Silos?
Yeah. And I was just like, the fact that we didn't get him and that he dies and like the ship coming, I'm like, man, Dave Filoni, why you gotta do us like that, bro? I was like, I could have been fine with that little bit of knowledge, but he had to like drop that little bit of knowledge in there. I was like, that makes that seem so much more like hit you in the feels.
What gets me the most, I'll add a little bit more details to what Char was describing. the fact when Anakin looks up and he could see Morai flying in the distance, because that's what sells it in the end. It's Anakin's like, oh, I know who that is. That's the daughter. That she has this close connection to Ahsoka. That's what sells it. It's the way like she's screaming and just flying around. Like Morai's the one that sells it all. And then like if you look very closely in the scene, you can actually see, because this is how crazy the animation is in season 7. You can actually see Anakin's face. You can see like his tears coming down his face, and like his eyes are like faintly blue for a couple seconds, kind of like Kenobi. Like when he gets slashed in the face, like you can see a little bit of blue, and then it goes back to yellow. It's that scene is just so emotionally devastating. But no, to like what Char was saying, like if I had to speculate where I think it takes place in the timeline, I think it's after Kenobi. It was because remember Palpatine's like you must like forget Kenobi, just you serve me. I think Anakin was like, okay, I need to do this one last thing.
If your past cannot be overcome.
It was his attempt, like Kylo says, he's trying to kill the past within himself. He's doing this last one final attempt to kill himself, but it doesn't really work because he's one person. Anakin and Vader are the same person. He tries to, it just doesn't work. He tries to like give into his persona, but it doesn't work. And you leave this very just emotionally devastating scene. But Brandon, where do you stand on the whole? Where do you think it takes place on the timeline?
No, I agree. I'd say after Kenobi. And I think, especially if you read the 2015 Vader run alongside the 2015 Star Wars run, because in those runs, Vader is running missions for Palpatine, but he also is doing his own stuff this entire time as well. Like he visits Jabba the Hutt, and Jabba's like, "You're supposed to be here tomorrow," and he's like, "I will be here tomorrow in an official capacity, but like, no, we got words, unofficial words here." And so, and just like you said, at the very end of Kenobi, where Palpatine tells him to forget about Kenobi. Listen, that is your past. You are supposed to move on. And again, I don't subscribe to them. I mean, I feel like you see the actions of both, but one is just what he's supposed to be doing in the eyes of the Emperor, and the other is what he wants to be doing. And so he's probably been trying to get to this location for a long time and had to fabricate something to like allow to be allowed to do it. But yeah, I say just after Kenobi, but before Rebels. So in that little 4 or 5 year time gap.
I want to hear Billy's thoughts, and then I will give my thoughts, because I disagree.
Ooh, spicy. I was gonna say I didn't know when it took place, but I guess after Kenobi does make a lot of sense. Trying to tie those loose ends, but he never gets to tie those loose ends, because even in the comics, as recent as 2020, he's still visiting Padme's grave. But I thought it was interesting when he saw Morai in the sky, and I kind of see Anakin, and it's kind of my way of excusing everything. I'll be honest. I kind of see him as like Bruce Banner Hulk, and then Smart Hulk. He's kind of like one and the same. But I thought when he saw Morai, it was kind of like a sign that she's still alive. Like the daughter is telling him, like, I wouldn't be here if you didn't still need her. That's kind of how I saw it when I first watched that episode, through my tears.
That's a good way to say it. I personally think it's before Kenobi, because there's a couple of reasons why. He looks more like he does before Kenobi. He's closer to his Kenobi look than he is to like his A New Hope or Empire
Return of
Strikes
the
Back,
Jedi.
or Return of the Jedi. He's got the red lenses, which is
He's
more
got the matte
notably-
finish.
Yeah, he's got the matte finish. And I personally think it's before, because yes, Ahsoka means a lot to him, and he wants to try to get rid of it. But when we get Kenobi, that's the one person that he is instantly like that. Because even when he discovers that Ahsoka's alive, it's not the same in my opinion, because it's like he's trying to like rid himself of Anakin, but like there's still a little bit left. And just the fact the way he looks, and I think it fits better in before Kenobi, because he goes, I'm getting rid of Ahsoka, and then when he finds out Kenobi's still alive, that's the final straw. This is my final hurdle. And that's why I think it's before. Like, it makes sense.
I
if
like
it were
that.
after,
I agree.
but
Yeah.
I think it's before.
I changed my stance. I stand with Luke.
I think it's before, because it's like, if you look at that, because it's like he's accepting that he doesn't have to face her. She's gone. I can let that go. And then he finds out Obi-Wan's alive, and then he's like, this is my final test to finally rid myself of Anakin Skywalker. And he fails.
Because in Rebels, when he first encounters Ahsoka, he's talking in this like second party voice of like, "You were foretold to be here. The apprentice of Anakin Skywalker is here."
Yeah.
And then when the mask gets flashed, it's like deja vu all over again.
Yeah. That's the only reason why I think it fits. I think it fits better with it being before Kenobi, shortly before Kenobi. I would love to ask Dave Filoni, if they do at Celebration next year, if they have a panel, like ask him, hey, when does this take place? Like in the timeline, maybe we'll get it in the timelines book.
Maybe.
I mean that's what I'm thinking.
Or maybe in the Ahsoka show, we'll get a flashback to when she does leave that planet.
Ooh, that would be interesting.
I'm holding my tongue for that one.
Or maybe it'll get touched upon. I don't know.
But
maybe Force Ghost Anakin will talk about it a little bit.
No, I'm saying we may see it sooner than you think, Char. That's all I'll say.
Predictions.
Anyway, Char, 3 interesting facts.
All right, so the final 3 interesting facts for the Clone Wars. So I'm not sure what the status will be for Rebels, but
No, it's coming back for Rebels.
It'll be back.
So yes, it will be back for Rebels. But this is the final 3 interesting facts for the Clone Wars. 3 interesting facts about a certain Clone Wars arc that you didn't know about until now. Part 43, the Siege of Mandalore edition. Fact 1, Dryden Voss's design. The Shadow Collective members that Maul confers with were added during the animation phase of the episode, which happens later than the design phase. Both the Falleen and Dryden Voss are made from reworked existing models. In fact, Voss is a composite of a background Mandalorian citizen and an existing Mandalorian minister, who has had his face subtly adjusted with Obi-Wan's hair added to his head. Fact 2, Bo-Katan's new look. Bo-Katan, however, received several design updates. She has new eyes, new proportions, new holsters, and her helmet paint job matches the one seen in Star Wars Rebels. Fact 3, Victory in Death's opening. The opening music features a live choir, a rarity for Star Wars The Clone Wars. And there you have it. Those are the 3 interesting facts about the Siege of Mandalore.
Well, I wouldn't even say it's just a live choir. Do you know what they're playing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's Anakin becoming Vader.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's just it's in a different pitch. But yeah. And for the last time in Clone Wars, it's time for the episode ranking.
Well, Luke, before we get to the ranking,
oh yeah,
you got to pull up something.
Yeah.
I promise it's a promise, my good sir.
Yeah.
This took forever. I will give you.
Yeah. We'll do that after the ranking.
Do it after the ranking?
Because once the ranking is done, we'll put it there.
Ah, that's a good idea.
I guess I'll load up Photoshop.
All right. So without further ado, we're going to dive into the rankings of this episode. Everyone in the chat, go ahead and think, what did you think of this arc? Is it a youngling, which is bad? Padawan, is it okay? Jedi Knight, is it good? Jedi Master, is it great? Or is it Grandmaster, which is the best of the best, top of the notch, a chef's kiss? So let us know down below in the comments. Let's start with Billy, since she's a newcomer to the Pod Ones podcast. Where do you rank this arc?
in all of the arcs in Clone Wars?
No, just you. What do you think of this arc standalone?
Like, what's my ranking of it?
Yeah,
Yep.
what is your ranking of this arc?
Oh, definitely Chef's Kiss.
Yes.
The best, 100%. If you get to the end of Clone Wars, you will be a happy Star Wars fan.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Awesome.
Max.
Max. Oh,
I'm gonna have to give it a youngling, man. It was just garbage. You know, the story's flat. Like,
For Youngling,
it's
let's
just-
go!
it's just not good, man.
knew
you
what
know?
happened.
No, I'm kidding. I'm
Yes,
kidding.
the joke is back. It's back.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding, of
Back.
course.
Chase brought it back.
No,
Siege of Mandalore.
definitely Grandmaster for sure. I mean, this is some of the best Star Wars content I think like we've ever gotten. So, Chef's Kiss all the way.
Brandon.
Okay, so
Uh-oh.
I give this oneness. I was like, is there anything above Grandmaster? And like, the only thing I can think of is in Star Wars Legends, where like Luke becomes one with the Force, but like retains it and basically turns into supersonic. It's kind of weird, but
Hence why I don't like reading Legends.
and it glows with light, and yeah, he just becomes like space Jesus. But yeah, above it's top. Whatever the top I can choose. This is slightly above that, I think. The quality is the highest of the Clone Wars. If I look at quality of any individual thing, quality of music, quality of animation, quality of the actors' performances, the amount of emotions that you get out of this, yeah, I fully believe that this arc is part of the reason why we are getting Tales of the Jedi, because there's like, damn, we can do this stuff now. All right, let's run it back.
No, it goes to what Dave Filoni said during the panel. He's like, what I was doing in the Clone Wars 2008 movie was like Atari 2600, and this is like the new gen consoles. Like, what the hell? But no, to give my own ranking, it's obviously Grandmaster. Obviously, what do you expect me to say, Youngling, like the rest of them? Come on, what am I? A shill?
Oh God, don't bring
Yeah.
that up.
Yes, this arc is the Grandmaster for me as well. It is just so beautiful. It's so well done. It's the perfect period of the sentence for Clone Wars, and it just ties the strings up so well.
Sorry, my dog's doing something.
What ranking did Chewie give it?
I don't know. I think he would give it a Grandmaster. I don't know what he's doing. Anyway,
Yeah, so let's look at some of these the chat's rankings. So we have Kirk, who says Chef's Kiss Grandmaster. We have Ven, who also says a Grandmaster. We have St. Pat that says Grandmaster. We have Elmo that says Grandmaster.
Elmo.
We have Kenny that says Grandmaster of Grandmasters. So that's the top of the top. Very similar to what Choco said. And Kirk said, I wish that we could see it in theaters as a single movie. That would have been cool.
Well, you did kind of get that in
An unofficial
Cosmic
capacity.
Force is
Yeah.
the ranking for Pep.
Luke, bring it up. Time
I
to
know, I'm
drag.
trying to.
All right. So what we
I'm
did
trying to.
was, so Hereth decided to
Hold
make
on.
a ranking list of all of the Clone Wars and where they were ranked on after every single episode that we had with Clone Wars. So with this, I believe this is the 11th Grandmaster arc that we've had.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've had 11 Grandmasters out of the 59 arcs that we have covered. So,
Hold on.
and some of them don't have rankings because Luke, or prior to because there was a certain point in time before I came on where there was no ranking system and there were no arcs being covered, so it was just individual episodes. So
There we
was no
go.
time before you, Char.
we had to cut off Malevolence and a few other episodes, but yes.
All right. Thanks, Hereth. Sorry, my share screen wasn't working. So that's yeah. Hereth, do you want to break this down a little bit for them?
Sure. So again, like Char said, I went through not kidding. Every single Pod One's episode from, well, it technically starts with 9 because if you're wondering why Malevolence and Rookies aren't there, it's because they didn't rank it yet until Char became a host. So there's why those arcs are, or those two are missing. But no, so obviously you got the 11 Grandmasters. You start with Pursuit of Peace all the way to Siege of Mandalore. You got Jedi Master from Maul's Return all the way down to Mon Cala. I'm sorry, I wish I was a host then. Even you get Ahsoka's Walkabout all the way down to what episode? It's the
That's
Grievous episode.
that's the one on Naboo. What's it called?
Oh, I really like that one.
That's the season 3 episode.
Yeah.
And then you get Padawan with Lair Grievous to hunt for Zero, and you get 0 younglings. Not a single youngling was ever given.
You know what? I feel like that's fair.
Yeah, so the Grandmaster ones, we have Pursuit of Peace and Senate Murders. We have the Mortis arc. We have Umbara. We have Zygeria. We also have the Obi-Wan Undercover arc, the Deception. We have the Maul Ascension arc. We have the Orders arc. We have the Lost
Dark
Ones
Disciple,
episode.
the book.
We have the Yoda arc, the end of season 6. We have Dark Disciple, and we have, of course, at last, Siege of Mandalore. So out of all of those, we have 11 Grandmasters, and I feel like. So before we close, would there be any of these arcs that you would change from the guests that we have right here? Do you think that some are higher or lower than what you would prefer?
I'd say Grievous's lair. I thought that one was pretty good. That's the one where they're like the clones are in there with Kit Fisto, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the episode where
and his Padawan.
Nadar Val.
Yeah, I thought that was. I mean, maybe it's just because I really like Plo Koon, but I thought Plo Koon fighting Grievous and like them like going through the layer and stuff like that, and kind of seeing how Grievous was put together. Like, I don't think it's like a Grand Master by any means, but I would have put that one a little higher up personally.
You better not talk about D Squad that way.
Okay. I the episode where it's R2D2 and C3PO and they're like getting fruit.
That one.
Oh, the Jogan fruit.
That should have been. Yeah.
Going to
You're
the Polynesian
probably
spa.
I think it was called
Polynesian
Nomad Droid, or is it
Yeah,
a different one?
That was the one. I think I remember correctly. They ranked it Jedi Knight for ironic value, and it just it screwed up the whole ranking.
Yeah.
That's the that's the only one I would really put lower on the list. But yeah, this looks solid.
Yeah, I feel like the one arc that I would have moved personally is Lightsaber Lost. One with Terra Sanube and Jedi Knight. I feel like it should have been a Jedi Master arc, but that's just me.
I agree. I would actually flip this and Mon Cala, even though if it was up to me, Mon Cala would be
Hey.
I don't care, Brendan.
Hey,
I don't
Yeah.
care.
Well, thank
stop
God.
hating
Thank
on
God
the
Brendan from
Mon
Cloud
Cala.
City Conversations is not in the chat, because he would be toasting Hereth right now for trying to debate on moving Mon Cala down in the rankings.
Yep.
I wasn't a host then. I couldn't influence it. I would have moved it down by a
Yes.
lot.
So for everyone that's watching,
I would
this,
also, but it also contains my least, like my
Yes!
least favorite character.
Oh,
Who's that?
Sharkman.
Riff Tamson.
Yeah, Riff Tamson.
Yeah, stupid shark face bastard. I hate him so much.
Oh man.
I'm not alone.
Yeah, so for all of you viewers, that was our complete ranking of Clone Wars. And yeah, this is the end of the Clone Wars rewatch and watch-along. Well, kind of the watch-along, but our coverage of the show. So now we'll be moving on to Rebels starting next week, Luke, right?
Yeah, we'll be starting next week. I just want to say one quick thing. I started this in June of last year, and we had like maybe 30 subs, and to see where it is now, where we're like literally, I've met so many amazing people from this little thing, and it's grown. And we're not done. We're branching out into other things. We're doing House of Dragon. We're doing Rings of Power. We're still doing Star Wars content. This is always going to be a Star Wars content. Like this channel is going to be Star Wars. But I love the fact that I've met so many people that I can call family now. And I wouldn't have that if you guys didn't believe in what we do. We appreciate every. Oh my God.
Aiden!
Jesus.
There's
God
no better way
damn
to
it.
end this without
I was trying to
Aiden.
give it a sentiment here, and you come in top
Yeah.
rope.
Aiden's trying to
Son.
ruin it with bringing up Star Wars Celebration memories.
Son of a bitch. Anyway, I just want to thank everybody that's been on for our Clone Wars rewatch. But yeah, I appreciate you guys. We wouldn't be where we are today without all of your support. We're gonna try and put out the best content that we can. And we're trying to do bigger and better things. And none of this would be possible without your guys' support. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. And now we are moving on to the next chapter of the Pod Ones podcast, which is Star Wars Rebels.
Yep, absolutely. Let's start with Billy. Thank you again for coming on as a newcomer. So glad that we could give you this platform to have people in the community. Where can the good people follow you on the social medias?
Yep. So you just search don't do that. BLYGOOP Billy Goop on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram, and you'll find me. But this has been a blast. I'm so grateful that you guys invited me. You guys should be very proud of what you guys are doing. It's really
Thank you.
Well, we appreciate
it.
that. We appreciate that. Max?
You can follow me. I would say the main one is my YouTube channel, which is PMPs Den of Antiquities. I kind of that's a play off of Doc Ondar's Den of Antiquities because Doc Ondar has a whole bunch of random stuff in his like den, and I do video game reviews. I do a podcast. I do everything. So if that tickles your fancy, go there. I also have all the social medias. It's PMPs_Den. And then if you guys want cool Star Wars merch, like I 3D print a lot of like Lego lightsabers and do all that stuff. Soon to be stickers and t-shirts. You can follow me on PMP Creations.
Go check out his stuff.
Yeah, I can. Here, let me, while you guys keep going, I'll bring out the big blaster.
Okay.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. It's huge.
Brandon, where can the good people follow you?
That's so freaking cool.
It's freaking massive. Like, literally covers my head. But,
It's the size of your torso.
yeah, literally. Like this is just me right now, straight up. So,
Brandon, where can the good people follow you?
Yeah, Darth Choco on TikTok, Darth Choco on YouTube. And I do the High Ground podcast every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. And I will have all of you guys on there, at some point, because I also just want to make sure we spread around everything we can in the community because it's the best. And also check out Diet in the Force, which is Saturdays at 5 p.m. Pacific time. That's me and Element 7, my dyad. And that's a lot more like news and stuff like that. And so, yeah, come hang out with us and talk. It's always a good time.
Yep, absolutely. Never want to miss one of their shows. It's fantastic. Like I always say, without...
Also, I have to say, like, thank you guys for doing this because, this show and the amount of guests you're able to get on and the amount of creators, both big and small, that you're able to appreciate is just it's inspiring. And so yeah, it's cool. I mean, when I started making content, it felt like the dark ages, like no one actually liked Star Wars. And the more this web just gets connected and the more people we have doing this and more podcasts, we need more podcasts, please.
Yeah.
Shout out to Sith Face podcast and Kessel Run Relay and Millennium Pod and
Beings of the Galaxy.
Absolutely. Everyone else.
Community.
Conspiracy Cantina. Yeah.
Yes, Conspiracy.
All of them.
Yep, absolutely. But thank you. But like I always say this, without Dyad, without High Ground, there would be no Pod Ones. And I can say that sincerely. So Brandon, thank you.
Lift each other up.
Yep, absolutely. Hereth, where can the good people follow you?
You can find me at Hereth Productions on TikTok, Hereth Productions on Instagram, Hereth_edits on Twitter, and of course you can find me here.
Absolutely. Char, where can the good people follow you?
Good people, you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at CharCharJ, as spelled right here. And you can find us every Thursday at the Pod Ones Podcast. Check us out next week as we cover our Star Wars Rebels rewatch. That'll happen at 7:30 Central Standard Time. And that's where you can find me. And you can find us every Sunday as we have our Game of Thrones watch along. Or not Game of Thrones, Game of Thrones House of the Dragon watch along. Sorry.
Yep. Absolutely. You can follow us at TikTok at the Pod Ones Podcast, Instagram at the Pod Ones Pod, and at Pod Ones Podcast. We are, as Char just mentioned, we are doing reactions and we are doing live watch-alongs of the House of Dragon and of Rings of Power. So next week you're gonna get both a reaction to House of Dragon and the first 2 episodes of Rings of Power. So
Poor Hereth.
stay tuned.
I'm
for
not
that.
working that one.
Well,
Lucky
no,
for
no,
me.
yeah, that was me.
Luke's got editing
I'm
software
editing.
now,
I gave
so-
Luke
editing
power. I'm
software,
like,
so-
Hereth
Hereth,
can
go,
finally
Luke.
breathe.
So I am the
I'm
captain
happy over
now.
here.
I am the captain now. But go check out that content if you're interested in everything. But yeah, that's gonna be it. On to the next one. For Light and for Life.
We are all the Republic.
And may the
And may
force
the-
be with you
Always.
Always.
We'll miss you, Clone Wars.
Oh, gee.